If you're tired of the standard business and marketing fundamentals, frameworks, and funnels, you need a little mischief. Get ready to turn up the volume on the CEO Mischief Maker podcast, where you access conversations with seasoned business owners who have smashed through mindset barriers, innovated the standard boring business and marketing playbooks, and executed future-paced strategies with bleeding-edge tools and tactics to micro-fail their way into massive success and growth. We are Mindset Impact Strategic Catalysts helping innovative entrepreneurs focus. We are CEO Mischief Makers. Ready to make a little mischief? Welcome back to the conversation, CEO Mischief Makers. We do create some mischief around here, so I'm very, very glad that you're joining us. And I'm Mary Kathryn Johnson. Call me MKJ. And my wonderful guest, Jim Fuhs. Jim, you ready to dive into ground level actions?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So we are on Friday, the third episode that I get to spend with Jim. And I just have to say this because they're kind of rare. A fox is just walking around right outside in the backyard, just trotting along behind, right in front of my eyes. Anyway, distraction. It's not a squirrel, it's a fox, but I got distracted anyway. So anyway, all right. Actions, strategies. We touched on those last time. If you have not listened to the first two episodes with Jim, I highly recommend that you do, because his story is pretty fascinating. What do you do? How do you advise people to take action in their business? So start us out with what you do, what you offer to clients, so that we can understand why you might make the specific recommendations in strategy and tactics that you are going to be making shortly.
Yes, I definitely, I would say aside from what I do on the production side, if I'm truly like helping someone that's not looking for that specific service, it's really about digital marketing consulting. And one of the things that I've learned over the last few years being in the Amazon Influencer Program is really, like even when I'm talking about any device, whether it's this microphone I'm talking on, is what you have as a business or as a product, how does it solve my problem as a potential, client, buyer, it doesn't matter if it's a good or a service. And so in order to, create that solution, I like to call it, you have two choices. I call it live solving, which is where we go live and we talk about it, but it could actually be, I'll call it recorded solving, right? If you don't want to go live, you can record the video, but it kind of goes back to what I call the 4 E's of social media, and there's also a C, and that is you need to educate people about what you do. You want to entertain them, you want to empower them, and you want to engage them. But the thing that we forget a lot of times, and I call it like the so what, is give them a call to action, right? And so when you create content, like even as an example, I love that we're having this conversation. I should take what you've provided when this is all said and done, and I need to create snippets, and I need to share it out in my network and kind of get people to have that fear of missing out. Like, hey, here's one little thing we said. If you want to see the rest of it, go here. How many times, and I've been guilty of it in the past as well, is you have this, you create a 1 hour video, and what do you do with it? You're off to the next video. So you're not taking your content and repurposing it and sprinkling it out, as my friend Chris likes to say, on the interwebs, because there's so many places that people are looking for things. So maybe it's a short video on TikTok, if you want to go there. Maybe it's a blog post, right? Is it a podcast? And then sometimes, we say, as an example, right, you have a show, but I also know that you guest on other people's shows. And so sometimes it's not so much about having your own show as what's going to make you successful. It's about getting your message in front of other people. So some of that might be like, hey, we need to get you guesting on other people's podcasts and live streams so you get in front of their audience. But then part of it is too, who is your target audience? Is it in your own backyard? Is it, regional? Is it national? That has to become part of the strategies. We have to find those people that are going to get you right at the front, that right audience. Because, if I can't work with people in another state, it really doesn't do me any good to go talk at a conference in another state if I'm not going to be able to work with them. So you have to, we have to kind of value our time. So I think that becomes part of that strategy, consistency in message, branding, and then also understanding that it's funny because I learned this a few years ago. When you think about, I call it the Facebook ads platform, and it really applies to any ad platforms. And even, we talk about networking, right? We build know, like, and trust. So when I go to a networking event or when I create a video talking about what solution I solve, I'm building awareness. I'm building the know. You may or may not like it, right? But if you do like it, now you'll start to want to consume more of my content. Now you're liking me. Or if it's in a networking meeting, oh, MKJ came back. I kind of like her. I like what she says, right? But I'm still not ready to buy. And then finally we have the trust or the conversion. And I think the mistake that businesses make is they think, I'm just going to go straight to conversion, but I haven't built a relationship with you. I mean, it's almost like saying, I'm going to go out today and I'm going to find someone to marry. And, I know they have these crazy shows that do that, but that's rarely going to work, right? So you've got to build know, like, and trust. I don't care whether it's in person or digitally, and that's got to be part of your strategy. And of course, if you want to call it, the problem is that people don't necessarily like is it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, or as with that old saying, the young people might not know it or not, but Rome wasn't built in a day.
That's right.
Your business is not going to be built. I mean, it might start in a day, but it's going to take time for it to become successful. And I think we saw a lot of business failures over the last few years because they did not adapt to change. They're like, well, nobody's coming to my restaurant. We're just going to close down, as opposed to it's like, how can I get delivery? How can I let people know that we can bring it to them? Because, I mean, even with probably just about any store, I mean, of course, Amazon's probably a big reason for this. I can just get stuff brought to my house. So now I don't have to go out and get it. And then how many times do we go out somewhere and waste all this time, I feel like sometimes, and it's like, they don't have it in the store, but you can order it online. It's like, so then why did I do this? So I think that's part of the challenge. And then also thinking of like, how can I take something like a blog post and maybe incorporate video into it? So you kind of give people a chance to like, oh, I want to see a little bit more, right? You can embed a video. I mean, there's a program called Issuu, ISSUU. I think it's actually not too far from it might be in the San Francisco area, but allows you to create these PDFs that have links and videos embedded so that people can look at it online, but you can also print it out if you wanted to. And so there's just all this constant change. I still like to have, books in hand, but I also read Kindle. But there's some people that they don't want to have a book. They don't want to have something like that. So we just have to be prepared as a business, like what is going to, really get people to connect. And I think sometimes the other thing I see when we're talking about the strategy is they don't necessarily really know who their target market is. Yeah. Right. I mean, it's interesting because if you want to say sometimes the platforms will tell you is, you think that as an example, well, I think that my target audience is, women that are 30 to 50 years old. And then I find out that it's actually, a completely different age group. It might even be in a different location than I thought. And so you got to be prepared to adjust to that and realize like, okay, well, if that's not the age group I want to work with, now I've got to kind of rethink, what am I doing in my business?
I hear what you're saying. I love what you're saying, because the first thing you have to do is find clarity. Get rid of all the noise, get rid of everything. I call them algorithm zombies. Okay. There's these gurus. There's these people out there that basically all they do is chase the algorithms. That's all they do. As Facebook changes, it was big on Facebook groups, and they were letting you do all kinds of crazy, great, amazing things in Facebook groups. Now they're not. So these gurus would go, oh, you got to do this in Facebook groups. And that would last 6 months, maybe a year. And then, oh, it's changed. LinkedIn, that they had the carousels. Carousels were everything. Do all the carousels. Now carousels are gone. So you're just an algorithm zombie if you're just following those things. You're being led by the nose. I lived on a ranch. I know what a bull ring is. Okay? You see them all the time out in society nowadays, actually. It's very interesting. But it's so that you can lead the bull by the nose. You're being led by the algorithms. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to run my business that way. I don't want to give my power of running my business over to Facebook, because Facebook has its own agenda. And it's leading you that way for its purpose, not for yours. Even if they say advertising is great on Facebook, it's still leading the algorithm so that Facebook makes money as you pay them. So I'm not going to give my power of running my business over to any other entity, no matter how amazing they are. Yes, I'm going to use them for awareness. Yes, I'm going to understand. But exactly to your point, I'm going to clarify where my audience is, who they are, and then go there for awareness. Not because Facebook says I should, or Instagram, or LinkedIn, or TikTok, or YouTube, but because I know my audience is there. Clarity is the number one step to any kind of strategy. You have to know those things. I love doing that. I can ask in a few questions when I talk to, when I consult with someone, and get down to the core of really who they serve and why. And then we can start digging back out from that to find where those people are. But if you don't know that, and you're just saying, I want to make money and everybody's my client, well, you're going to fail. I'm just here to tell you it's not going to work. You have to clarify. You have to take a stand. You have to stand for something. And sometimes that means standing against something else. So I just told you, algorithm zombies. I'm against the algorithms. I'm not for the algorithms. I'm not going to sit here and teach you how to play the algorithm game. I'm not an algorithm zombie, and I'm not going to teach you how to be one. I'm going to teach you how to be independent. Go ahead.
Well, and it even kind of goes back to like what Pat Flynn talks about, right? It's better to have that small group of super fans than have 10, 20, 30,000 people that don't care. And it's interesting too that you bring up the Facebook groups, because there's some changes coming with Facebook groups here in the near future in regards to third-party software, live streaming tools. And people are like, oh, well, I use this program and now it's not going to work. What am I going to do? Well, there are solutions, but I would also maybe say, well, why are you staying on Facebook? Why not go to another platform if the group was truly what you think it is? And it's to your point, it's interesting that they think, oh, well, I got to be on here. But the reality is, on all of these platforms, minus your website, your blog post, whatever, you're on rented land. That's right. You don't own those people, and they could pull the rug out from under you, and then what? So I think that's where, using some of these other, things, and maybe, in conjunction, I mean, even like with, Relatable, you're actually taking a video and uploading it, from somewhere else, but it's still your video, and you don't really care, where it's sitting, if the algorithm cares or not, because you're presenting it to people directly.
That's right. And then you're going to be able to take that data and capture it for yourself.
Yes. Not
for Relatable. Relatable's not going to use that. They're not going to charge somebody. They're not going to give that data to an advertiser to use so that they can reach more people. No, that's your data, and you're going to use it for your benefit and your communities. So I agree. Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, great places for people to just sit and chat. But if you have a purpose and you want a community that helps drive your purpose, and they're behind you driving that same movement, like you're talking about veterans, there's movements that are in the world. And it's important for a community to get behind a movement. And if you have a business that does not support a community and that does not stand for something, you don't really have a business in the 21st century. You have a 20th century business, and it's going to go out of business pretty soon.
Yes.
Because this next generation needs a movement and a community. They're not just going to buy widgets.
Right.
So
Definitely.
Take that Facebook group and put them into your own community that you own. Like Pat Flynn. He doesn't have his SPI Pro community on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. He has it in, he has it in Circle, I think.
Yes, that sounds right.
Yeah. And it's his own community. and he owns it and he monitors it, and they're not using his data to go and sell to other marketers to be able to find those people. It's private. If you
Yes.
don't have that and you don't stand for something, you need to be very clear in what you stand for and attract those people. Not just advertise to them through the algorithm zombies, but actually attract them by, like you said, putting your content in the places that you need it to be, stating who you are so that people can understand and come along with you into the journey. How are you doing that? How you said you also consult and then you also do the production. So
Yes.
that's kind of both strategy and action, right?
Right.
Um, which do you? Let me ask you this: which do you enjoy the most?
I really enjoy both of them. I think, I would say that the nice thing about the production work, it's usually like, you go, you do the production, it's over with, it's on to the next thing. Where the strategy is more of a longer term, relationship building, like, how are we doing? What's coming up next? What can we do in the future? But I prefer doing it from a consulting standpoint as opposed to you know, being the person doing the work all the time, because then it almost becomes a full-time job and I don't need that anymore.
That's right. Wow. All right. So what's coming up? What's next? You also, like me, love new products and new technologies and things like that. Where's Jim headed? What are you aspiring to? And
I'm
how are you
actually
going to
I'm
get there?
actually looking to launch a couple new podcasts. I think one that's definitely veteran focused, and then the other one I think is going to be more, like I said, is going to involve helping businesses in my community that get their story out. Right, it's probably going to be, I'll call it a like YouTube podcast. Like it'll be a video podcast, but it will also create a audio piece out of it for people, because people consume things differently.
Yeah.
But it'll be a way that then when people go on YouTube, as long as they keep doing that and search, they may find that business that's going to solve their problem. And so really, it's just really being a facilitator in that aspect. And I think just continuing to learn about, AI. I'm not going to, stick my head in the sand and think that it's going away. It's not. It's more figuring out how can I use it to benefit not only my own business, but other businesses, but also be prepared that it may, change it. Because it seems like there's like a new AI product coming out, all the time. I mean, it's funny. I used to use an AI tool for video, and it was quite pricey. Well, now there's a lot of other options that are a lot cheaper, and so you just never know. So you got to kind of like keep your eyes open and your ears as well to listen on what's coming up.
What is a last piece of advice that you would give someone who's still hesitant about using video in their strategy to market their business?
Well, I would just say just get started. If you're afraid of it, start out with something simple. Like I've said, sometimes people are afraid to go live, so just do something recorded. Practice it. It's kind of like with Toastmasters, practice it over and over. But think about, do a 2-minute video that explains what you do to help solve people's problems, and you'd be surprised how people react. I mean, even me just showing how this microphone can solve a problem, I was amazed. I got some questions, right? I was able to give people feedback, and I wasn't trying to necessarily sell the microphone. I'm like, if you want it, right, here's the link. But just showing people how it works and making them think like, so if you had this, here's some things you could do with it, right? Does that make sense to you? For some people it will, for others it won't. But my friend Chris and I even talk about this. If I help one person, right, make a change that benefits them, that's all that matters. I think it goes back to what you were saying about the algorithm. I don't care if 20,000 people see the video. If I helped one person and it made a difference in their life, that's all that matters.
Okay, hold on. If your mindset was shifted, you were inspired to innovate, and you were spurred into action, don't just move on with your day. Focus, my friend, and take a few minutes to visit ceomischiefmaker.com to learn more about the value that was shared with you today. Please act now and create some CEO mischief of your own.